G'day, folks. Today I'm going to share with you how in 2022 I kept my expenses under 13,000 Australian dollars or converted to US dollars under 9,000. So to start off, the greatest expense that I pay is my rent. So between my wife and I, we pay per year 15,600, but my half is 7,800. And if I'm to compare that to comparable rents, the two apartments either side next door went up for rent for about $130 more per week, which per year would come to $6,780 more per year. It's fair to say that I'm very fortunate renting where I am. And basically, it's just a case of, well, I've lived in this particular apartment for a number of years now, and I've been very fortunate not to have any rental increases due I think in part to just being a good tenant. Basically, if you can get into a rental where you can get it under comparable rents and get in at the right time, which fortunately I was, and be, again, fortunate enough not to endure any rental increases, which seldom happens in rental apartments, well, you're on a winner. And living in Melbourne, Australia, if you look at the rental yields on properties, it's a much more affordable idea to rent than to buy a primary place of residence, because the rental yields are just that awful in Melbourne, unfortunately. So that means that it's an opportunity to get into a rental at a good price. And my choice in rental apartment as well has played a significant part in reducing my other expenses, which I'll be going through next. So my second greatest expense in 2022 was public transport. So that came to $1,400 if I'm to round it up to the nearest 10. So the real advantage of living walking distance from the city and having quick access to trams, trains and buses is I don't need a car. So I find that really fantastic, and I also find it a huge time saver in that I can do productive work on the way to and from work, and if I'm going to a football game, to and from the football game. If I'm able to save money and save time, well, from my perspective, I'm winning. So the next expense I'll go through is internet. So I foot the bill for the internet in the household, and I pay $60 a month, or per year $720. So that's for 100 megabits per second unlimited downloads. At least by Australian standards, that's actually the best on market deals. So if I'm to try and get a new deal today, well, I can't get basically 100 megabits per second unlimited downloads for the price I'm paying. And I'm with a very reputable service provider. And if I was to get a new deal with them, well, it would be $30 per month more. Or over the course of a year, that would be $360 extra. So I'm really glad to be on the deal that I'm on, and I hope it continues for a long time because basically it's better than any opportunity on the market. So when you can do that, well, again, you're on a good deal. And I was very fortunate to get NBN at the timing I did to get in and get that deal. And next up, we've got utilities. So I also foot the bill for the utilities per year, and to round it up to the nearest 10, last year came to around $1,100. Basically, some of the things that really save us. So our bill's actually based on all sort of the documentation we get back. Despite being a two-person household, it says that our usage across the board is quite a bit less than for what a one-person household would use in the course of a year. That's an accomplishment in a sense. But among the things that really save us, living in an apartment, well, one thing that I find really good, at least where I live, is it's really well insulated. So basically, we don't have an air conditioner and have no need for one, and we also don't really need to use a heater. You'd be able to count on one hand how many times we use the heater over the course of the year. Basically, again, that's a huge saver. And if you're taking quick showers, and one thing I hope to do a bit more to save a bit on the hot water is use the on-site gym facilities. Living in an apartment complex, having access to a gym, having access to a pool, having access to a shower as well there, well, again, that's huge opportunities for savings where it means I don't have to buy a gym membership or access to a pool. I've got it here on site, and again, very quick, very convenient access. That's one of the major advantages to living in a good apartment complex with good amenities. So the next one, and I'm just going to call it uncategorized expenses, came to $1,120 last year. So whether it's getting things like new light globes, well, at least in this apartment, the light globes are pretty expensive and they just sort of give way really quickly, unfortunately. So, but it could be things like entertainment or doing things or just things around the house that are needed or what have you. So let's that's basically what I'm considering uncategorized expenses. So for me, what really saves me is having a good laptop, having a good internet connection, and having hobbies that cash flow. So to be more specific, so my second job, I'm a sports journalist writing about the footy for ESPN. So basically, I get paid to go to football games and watch football games and write about football games. So and I've also got a YouTube channel talking about football, where again, although that doesn't really earn anything significant, well, it's $100 here and there, so that's fine. So if you can make those hobbies cash flow, and it means then you can tax deduct a little bit of internet, tax deduct a little bit of the electricity bill, well, they're the ways that you can save money, save on some of your taxes as well. And let's say I was up for a new laptop. Well, having a laptop, and it's still good, it's been running for 6 years and it's served me really well. But if I was up for a new laptop, well, again, I could at least tax deduct a bit of that potentially in, I guess, spending so much time really, I guess, focusing on these jobs. So yeah, basically, if I'm spending my time doing that, well, it means I don't have to pay for Netflix or pay for going to the movies or those sorts of things, or pay for a new gaming console, because basically I'm too busy doing the things I enjoy but getting paid for it. So that would be one of the big things that I'd suggest for you at home to think about. Is there a way that you can make the things that interest you really cash flow? So my cost for meals last year came to $210. So fortunately for me, my wife takes all the grocery shopping expenses, and then we just basically alternate when we go out for meals as to who pays. So for that $210, it was basically for me a total of 10 meals, and 9 of 10 of which were shared with my wife of those 10 meals I paid for. So if it's coming to an average cost of $21 and no meals out costing over $25, well, basically I've done pretty well there. So yeah, so, and one of our favourite meals, and for those Melburnians out there, look out for Crossways in the city. So you can have all you can eat for $9.90. So that's the best deal you can get. So you get a good, whether it's lunch or dinner, and then you get a dessert, you get sort of drinks with it. So non-alcoholic, of course, but yeah, it's just a fantastic deal, particularly if there's vegetarians or vegans out there. Not that I'm a vegetarian or vegan, but basically it's good, healthy food for a great price and with good quantity, more importantly, for a big eater like me. So they're the sort of opportunities you really need to look out for. So and that's really with meals how I save so much, when of course the average meal prices are dramatically more than what between my wife and I we would pay for the one meal combined. So that's how we do well with meals. And for those looking to save on their grocery bills, my wife has found that Aldi is by far and away the best place to get the best deals. So she pays literally less than half of what she used to pay for the same amount of food as she used to get from either Woolworths or from Coles. So huge saving, and yeah, great place to do your shopping. And additionally as well, at least where we go at Aldi, and I'm assuming it's probably the same at other Aldis, it's not a self-checkout thing. You've actually got people at the checkout, which is something, if you're paying less and you've got someone at the checkout, well, as I guess a business, I can really respect that more, and I'd be much more willing to support them. So next up, I'll put health and dental as one category. So rounded to the nearest dollar, that came to $420 last year. So basically, that includes an annual dental and hygienist sort of visit. So I only need that once a year because I look after my teeth, even though I'm a Collingwood supporter, but I do my best. But yeah, basically, from a healthcare perspective, fortunately in Australia, the healthcare costs aren't too bad, but this was actually the most I've ever spent on healthcare just because it was my most unfortunately unwell year I've ever had. So I will on my end need to make some quite significant health changes, both dietary and exercise related, and also lifestyles. So one thing I'll actually have to consider is if I do continue with ESPN this year, how much longer my body can really take it, because really the lifestyle of whether it's going to football games and just sitting in the stands taking notes, or whether it's sitting at home watching the game, whether it's on my laptop or on the TV, well, it's just really a lifestyle where you're just sitting around, you're not active. So they're changes I really need to make, and I'll, over the coming months, actually really need to make some decisions around that as to whether the opportunity cost is worth it going forward, and if so, for how long. Because yeah, I'm certainly not yet decided as to whether I will continue with my second job, just because my passive income far exceeds my total expenses now, which gives me that opportunity and flexibility. But the thing I'm aware of, and I might cover this in a future video, is that I'm of the belief that this year, if we haven't seen the lows in the markets already, I think this year will be the year we do see the lows and really start to see a bit of a pickup in the markets over the next few years. So they're the sort of things I'll have to weigh up on my end. So the next category is gambling. So I'm not a gambler at all, and I'm a proponent of, if you're going to gamble, it needs to be something where all the money stays in that competition, meaning there's no third party that is basically guaranteed to make money at the end of it. And the other criteria that I have is that it's skill based, meaning you want to basically have a superior skill level to the rest of the competition so that the odds are substantially in your favor. So putting $20 into a work footy tips competition is a good bet with all the money staying in the competition. So in putting in $20, I ended up winning 70, so $50 profit. And the other one, and this is a first for me, is PointsBet had a deal where if you put in $10, you can win $30. So in other words, a $20 profit, which I ended up getting for if Melbourne beat West Coast. So basically the premiership team from 2021 beating the team, or a bottom two team essentially last year. So for me, that was a no-brainer. That's just an instant, basically $20 profit on the spot. So yeah, given those opportunities, well, yeah, I made some money off that, nothing meaningful, but yeah, that's basically the amount I'd be willing to put into betting, because basically my money can be better deployed, whether it's into property investments, whether it's into crypto or stocks, whatever market I see value in. So basically they're the ways where, look, if you're going to bet, well, you want to bet smart. So, and that's the way that I bet smart, with a methodology that's going to win for me more than not. And the next one is phone expenses. So per year, this isn't per month, this is per year, I pay $20. So it's just simply a prepaid plan, and basically my phone is just for emergency use only. So yeah, so basically if I want to use the internet, well, I don't connect my phone to the internet at all. It's simply, if I need internet, well, I use internet at home on my computer, or if I'm at work, well, I've got access to the work internet. So yeah, so it's pretty simple. And it's a huge saving, and ultimately I don't even upgrade my phone. So until I have a phone that is completely kaput, well, then I buy a new one. And when I did buy a new one, well, I bought a phone that basically was half the price of all the other, I guess, top model spec phones, and yeah, it was half the price. So that's sort of the way that I approach things, where if I'm buying a phone, well, I'm looking for value and something I'll be happy with for a long time. So my current phone I've probably had for, I reckon, probably 5 years, and that's upgrading from a phone that was probably one of my dad's old phones, and I probably kept it going for about another 8 or so years until it got to a stage where it really couldn't receive calls, make calls, or text. So then it was just like, well, okay, I need to obviously get a new phone just for functional reasons. So that's my methodology there. A lot of people love their phones. For me, I don't care about phones at all. If I'm on public transport, well, I'm getting work done. If I'm at home, I'm probably getting work done too, or learning about investing. So they're the things I really spend my time doing. So yeah, that's how I save a lot on phone bills. And that's it for my expenses. So my total expenses came to, in Australian dollars, 12,820. But to convert it to US dollars at the current exchange rate, that would come to around $8,840. So, yeah, I feel like I'm doing about as well as you can do from an expense perspective, ultimately. And in terms of debts as well, and I consider this to be quite an important one, well, I've got no debts and I've never had any debts. I use only a debit card. I've never used a credit card, don't have a need for one. The only time I would choose to go into debt would be to buy property. So if it was a primary place of residence, I'd have to sleep on it. Ideally, I'd like to be able to be in a position to buy it outright. But certainly for investment properties, I'd be very willing to go into debt and leverage my investments so that I can take advantage of inflation to get me into the next and the next and the next properties. So that would be that is my methodology with debt and how I would sort of utilize it, I suppose, to my advantage. But that's not me at this stage because at the moment I'm more interested in putting money into the markets because in Australia, to put it bluntly, the rental yields are embarrassingly poor, where rentals really need to catch up quite some way to property prices to really make property an attractive investment. Because as things are, if you compare the prices to basically our income levels in Australia, well, there isn't as much room to grow as there should be this time in the cycle, and certainly compared to other countries when you do the numbers on that. So, yeah, in the shorter term, particularly crypto, but also to some degree stocks, if you're looking in the right places, there are some really marked down deals and opportunities that are quite appealing. So hopefully from watching you've gained some ideas as to how you might be able to save a bit more money, because ultimately the more you save, well, it means the more money that you can either put aside towards buying a property if that's your aim, or put aside towards putting into investing, which is really my focus at the moment. So because ultimately I would much prefer being on $50,000 a year and saving 30 than being on $200,000 but saving 10. So that would really be the methodology that I sort of, I guess, look at towards money, where a dollar saved is better than a dollar earned, but at the same time, you also really want to make that money work for you. So basically, the more you have saved, well, it's not about just keeping the money in the bank. It's going to continue losing money to inflation over time. It's really, I guess, in my opinion at least, about really putting the money somewhere where it's going to make money for you, wherever you decide that is. So for me, that's in, I guess, at this stage, real estate assets. And I'll be diversifying into crypto and probably stocks as well to really, I guess, get a broader cash flow foundation. But really through, I guess, property related positive cash flow investments, I've really been able to, I guess, secure that cash flow foundation where I'm in a really sound position at the moment where, look, if I wanted to, and I've mentioned this in my previous video, I could retire from really both of my jobs if I wanted to and just live off the passive income. It probably wouldn't lead to much of a life, and it would really restrict me from moving up to a bigger place, to having children. Children, of course, being the greatest expense that really you have to get to a dramatically higher income level to even be able to afford. But yeah, that's sort of, I guess, my approach and how I see things. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future updates. And let me know in the comments section below what in particular did you learn, and what in particular would you like to apply to your personal situation to save a bit more, so then you can put away a bit more to potentially, whether it's invest or put away towards maybe a primary place of residence if that's your motivation. But yeah, anyway, folks, see you in the next video.